What's up everybody, we're back with another raid guide, and today we're taking a look at the Blackwater Behemoth on Mythic difficulty. I'll be going over most of the mechanics, how to deal with them, and our overall tactic for this fight. So let's start off with what's new on Mythic. Apart from everything hurting a ton more, you'll have to deal with something called Piercing Barb. It targets a random non-tank player, creating a beam between the boss and its target. After a short cast, it deals 1.3 million damage split between all players hit by this. Needless to say, without extremely big defensives or immunities, you will die unless you split this with other players. And to soak this, simply stand or swim on the beam between the fishy fish and its target. And everyone hit splits the damage. On top of this, as I mentioned, you can also immune this, just make sure to aim it into a wall or something, so someone doesn't accidentally soak it and die. Other than that, it's the same old fight as on Heroic. So how do we deal with all of this? There's a couple of different ways to tackle this fight. You can simply do it like it's intended and soak the Piercing Barb and heal through it. Or you can sacrifice players targeted by it if they can't immune. If you're gonna split it, when you get Piercing Barb, you have the targeted player stand still and player that's going to soak simply line up in between. It's important to keep in mind that you still want to be spread, so stand in a line, not on top of each other. Nice and simple. Or you can sacrifice players that gets targeted by Piercing Barb if they can't immune it. This tactic obviously works better if you have a lot of immunity classes like rogues, mages, hunters, paladins, etc, etc. On our kill we mix the two. We soak and split all Piercing Barbs on the first platform and sacrificed players after that. However, it's not that hard to heal through it, so I'd probably recommend that approach first unless you have a ton of immunity classes. As for the rest of the fight, before pulling the boss you want to make sure everyone in the raid has the oxygen-rich membrane buff. Yes, this is still a thing in Mythic, much to some of our raiders' surprise. Anyways, mark all the Shimmerskin pufferfishes. There's 2 per platform on Mythic as well. It will make navigation a bit easier. Nuke down one of the pufferfishes directly on pull and make sure everyone except the tanks swim over and get the buff. Try not swimming into the pufferfish all at the same time or you risk triggering a massive AoE from bioelectric feelers. As for the next pufferfish, you want to kill it roughly 45 sec after the first one so that the buff runs out just as you transition into Intermission. And this is true for all platforms. And when the boss casts Shock Pulse, make sure to get pushed back around 20 yards to reduce the damage you take. Keep in mind that you can be pushed out over the deep water, which will trigger gaze from below. On the second and third platform there will be gaps or cracks in the platform which also counts as deep water, so keep that in mind. Healers, keep an eye on players with Toxic Spine, it hurts a lot so make sure to spot heal them. And players that get Toxic Spine should pop a defensive to help healers out a bit, of course if it's needed. As far as the tank mechanic goes, if you tank swap every 15 sec, you will ensure that both tanks can be healed at all time. You just have to heal through the dot on 2 tanks, but overall it's easier if you can heal both. Make sure one tank is always in melee range of the boss to avoid triggering bioelectric discharge. The only time you don't need to be in melee range is when the boss uses Shock Pulse. You will have a grace period of a couple of seconds in order to get back to the boss. However, it doesn't hurt that much on a tank, so there's really no need to swim all that far. And that's pretty much it for the platforms. When the boss reaches 100 energy, he swims away to another platform and the intermission begins. There's not much to it really. Make sure you don't have the bioluminescent buff when you swim over so you don't get numbed by the big fishy fish. Make sure you use the slipstreams that spawn around the edge of the platform to get that sweet 150% swim speed. Dodge the jellyfishes, they're still mean, and just keep swimming. And when you get across the jellyfish infested waters, you want to wait with interrupting the boss a bit until you've nuked down the first pufferfish. This just makes it line up better with the second pufferfish you need to kill. Of course, if the cast is about to go off, make sure to interrupt. But otherwise wait for the first pufferfish to die. The next intermission and platform phase is exactly the same, the only difference are the cracks and gaps in platform number 2 and 3. And that's about it for this fight. I would love to hear what all of you think about this encounter, seeing as it is underwater. I myself actually don't mind it so far, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it's new, might not be the best, but at least it's different from most bosses. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want more in-depth info about a certain part of the fight, like tanking, healing cooldowns, or whatever, just hit me up on Facebook or become a Patreon and you will get access to my Discord where you can get all my weak auras, healing CDs, notes, etc. And it's the fastest way to get a hold of me. And again, huge shout out to all my Patreons over the tiers, really appreciate it. With that said, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, leave me a like and ring that notification bell. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time.